They carried hunger for years and trusted the wrong smile. What happened next broke them. Welcome to Shishi Fairy Tales. People said Daniela and Valerie's family was cursed, not because they were bad people, but because no matter how hard they worked, life never loosened its grip on them. Their parents were once hopeful. Their father woke before dawn every day, tying his worn shoes and heading out to search for work. Some days he repaired things. Other days he carried loads for strangers. He came home tired, hands shaking, eyes empty, but still smiling for his family. Their mother worked too. She sold small items by the roadside and washed clothes for neighbors. Even when her body grew weak, she refused to rest. Tomorrow will be better, she always said. But tomorrow never listened. Bills piled up. Food grew smaller. School fees became whispers instead of plans. Stress settled into their father's chest like a stone. He complained of pain, but still went out to work. One afternoon, he did not return standing. Neighbors carried him home. By nightfall, he was gone. A heart attack, they said, too much worry. Too much pressure. After that, their mother became sick. Some days she could not rise from bed. Medicine was expensive. Hospitals asked questions they could not answer. Daniela and Valerie made a painful choice. They dropped out of secondary school. They folded their uniforms carefully and placed them in a box. They promised each other it was only for a while, to survive. They began hawking sausages and soft drinks. From morning till evening, they walked the streets with tired feet and hopeful smiles. Their clothes were clean but torn. Their slippers thin. Hunger followed them like a shadow. They did it all for their younger brother, John, their mother who was sick, and also to put food on their table. John was still in school. Bright. Curious. Full of dreams. They refused to let him stop learning. At night, Daniela counted coins. Valerie cleaned their mother's forehead. John read his books aloud, pretending not to notice the emptiness in the room. Sometimes, Valerie wondered why suffering chose them. Sometimes, Daniela felt like crying without sound. And somewhere far away, a woman named Lisa was living a life that looked nothing like theirs. They did not know her yet, but fate already knew them. 10 years passed, but poverty did not move. Daniela and Valerie were still hawking sausages and soft drinks on the streets. Their feet had grown stronger, but their lives had not grown easier. Every day looked the same. Walk. Sell. Hope. Return home tired. Their mother's sickness came and went. John was now in secondary school, taller and quieter, carrying dreams too big for their small room. Daniela and Valerie were proud of him. But fear lived inside them. School fees were rising again. One hot afternoon, while walking past a large shopping mall, Valerie stopped suddenly. "Daniela," she whispered, grabbing her arm. "Look." A beautiful woman stepped out of the mall, surrounded by bright light and quiet confidence. Her dress was expensive. Her shoes shone. Her hair flowed perfectly. In her hand was a brand new iPhone 17 Pro Maximum. Daniela squinted. "Lisa?" she asked softly. The woman turned. Her eyes widened. Then she smiled. "Daniela?" "Valerie?" They stared at each other for a moment, then laughed and hugged like children who had found a lost memory. Lisa was their old secondary school classmate. Their close friend. Before life separated them, they talked briefly. Lisa looked at their cart. At their worn clothes. At Daniela's small techno button phone. Her smile softened. They exchanged contacts. Lisa promised to call. A few days later, she did. She took them shopping. New clothes. Food items. Toiletries. Things Daniela and Valerie had not touched in years. They thanked her again and again, their voices shaking with gratitude. That night, they returned home smiling. Their mother smiled too. John laughed loudly for the first time in weeks, but happiness does not always stay. Some days later, After a long day of hawking, they returned home with almost nothing. No sales. No money. Just tired bodies and empty hands. Valerie sat down and covered her face. "We can't keep living like this," she said, her voice breaking. "What if we ask Lisa for help?" Daniela shook her head. "She's done enough. We can't beg." Valerie looked at her sister, eyes wet. "What if we die of poverty?" Silence filled the room. Slowly, Daniela picked up the phone. "Let's call her," she said quietly. The phone rang twice before Lisa answered. "Hello?" Her voice sounded calm and expensive. Daniela swallowed. "Lisa. It's us. Daniela and Valerie. We really want to see you." There was a short pause. "Of course," Lisa replied warmly. "Come tomorrow." The next morning, Daniela and Valerie wore their best clothes. They were clean, but old. Torn at the seams. Shoes faded by years of walking. They held hands as they took a bus across town, their hearts beating fast. When they arrived, they stopped at the gate. Lisa's house was huge, tall walls. Shiny floors. Glass doors. A quiet that felt heavy and rich. Daniela stared. Valerie covered her mouth. "Is this someone's hotel?" Valerie whispered. Inside the living room, Lisa sat comfortably on a wide couch, holding a glass drink in one hand and her iPhone 17 Pro Max in the other. Music played softly. The air smelled like flowers and money. Daniela and Valerie stood awkwardly. They began talking. Slowly at first. Then crying, they told Lisa everything. About their father's death. Their sick mother. John's school fees. The years of hawking sausages and soft drinks. The hunger. The shame. The tiredness. Valerie dropped to her knees. "Please," she cried. "Help us. Show us how to survive." Daniela followed, tears streaming. Lisa stood up quickly. "No," she said firmly. "Don't kneel." She looked at them carefully. "I can help you," Lisa said. "But are you ready for work?" They nodded at once. "Anything," Daniela said. "Anything at all." Lisa smiled slightly. "Good. First, stop dressing like this." That same day, she took them shopping. Dresses. Shoes. Bags. Jewelry. Things Daniela and Valerie had only seen on screens. When Lisa dropped them home, they hugged her tightly. At home, they told their mother a gentle lie. That Lisa had secured jobs for them. That the workplace was close to Lisa's house. Their mother smiled with relief. John clapped with joy. A week later, Daniela and Valerie packed their bags and entered an Uber. As the car drove away, Hope sat beside them. And for the first time in years, life seemed to be smiling back. Lisa's house did not feel like a house, it felt like another world. From the moment Daniela and Valerie moved in, everything changed. Soft beds. Cold air from shining machines on the wall. Big mirrors. Clothes arranged like a store. Food that smelled rich and sweet. The first night, Lisa ordered food they could not pronounce. Drinks with tiny umbrellas. Music filled the living room. They laughed until their stomachs hurt. "Welcome to soft life," Lisa said, raising her glass. The days became bright and fast. They went to hotels that touched the sky. Sat on soft chairs by swimming pools. Ate food on white plates that cost more than their old house rent. Lisa introduced them to important friends. The men wore suits, gold watches, and heavy perfume. They smiled wide and gave Daniela and Valerie money for shopping. Soon, shopping became normal. New dresses. Shiny heels. Jewelry that sparkled like stars. Hair done every week. Skin glowing. Phones upgraded. Lisa handed them brand new iPhone 17 Pro Max phones. Daniela stared at hers. "Is this really mine?" Lisa laughed. "You're not village girls anymore." For weeks, life felt like a dream. No hawking. No hunger. No shame. Just soft beds and bright lights. Then one evening, They sat in the huge living room. Music low. Air cool. Lisa stood before them, serious but smiling. I got a big contract, she said. Daniela and Valerie leaned forward. In Dubai. Their eyes widened. Lisa clapped her hands softly. Not small money. $100,000. The number hit them like fireworks. Valerie screamed. Daniela jumped up. They held each other, laughing and shouting. Abroad. Valerie cried. We made it. Lisa smiled calmly. Get your passports ready. The days that followed were full of shopping, packing, excitement, and dreams bigger than the sky. They did not notice how fast everything was moving, and they did not ask why Lisa never explained the job clearly, because when poverty ends suddenly, hope can be louder than questions. Dubai looked like heaven. Tall glass buildings touched the clouds. Roads shone like mirrors. Cars moved like silent lightning. Daniela and Valerie pressed their faces to the car window, speechless. Is this real life? Valerie whispered. Lisa smiled, but her eyes looked different now, tired, distracted. They checked into a luxury hotel with floors that sparkled. That night they ate rich food, laughed, and fell asleep quickly. They were exhausted from excitement. The next morning, a man dressed in traditional white attire arrived. He spoke politely and said he worked with Lisa's business partners. They followed him, dressed in their finest outfits. A flashy sports car drove them to a massive mansion with high gates and guards. Inside, wealthy men greeted them, smiling too much, talking softly in a language they didn't understand. They were treated like guests that day, but the next morning, everything changed. Their phones were taken, the doors were locked. Lisa tried to argue, but the men stopped smiling. You belong to us now, one of them said coldly. Daniela's heart dropped. Valerie started shaking. They realized too late there was no job. No contract. No freedom. Days turned heavy. As they were forced to eat feces of the Dubai rich men each day, they were being used for money rituals. And soon after, they started vomiting dollars out from their mouths. Though the guards securing the basement doors also often gave them food to eat, but they were also used as money machines. They got really pale looking and so weak from the crying and pleadings each passing day, that they could not even talk or really eat again. They felt their life was over and were full of regrets. The room they were locked in had no windows, no outside air. Just silence and fear. They cried at night, whispering regrets. I wish we stayed with Mama. Valerie sobbed. Daniela held her hand tightly. If we had waited, God would have helped us. Lisa cried too. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. Hope felt very small. For the first time, the girls understood something painful. Not every door that opens leads to freedom. Some lead to cages made of gold. And now, they were trapped. Hope returned in the smallest, quietest way. That morning, the mansion felt different. The air was still. The silence was heavier than usual. Upstairs, a cleaner moved from room to room, humming softly as she worked. She had been told never to go near the basement. That part of the house was private. But as she wiped the hallway floor, she paused. She heard something. A faint sound, like tired voices, like people whispering through walls. She looked around. No one else was near. Curiosity pulled her forward. She followed the sound down the hallway, down a staircase, until she stood in front of a locked basement door. The voices were clearer now, weak. Desperate, her hands trembled. She knew she could get into trouble. But she could not walk away. She hurried to a nearby storage room where bunches of keys hung carelessly. She grabbed them, returned, and tried one key after another. Click. The door opened. Inside, Daniela, Valerie, and Lisa looked like shadows of themselves. When they saw the door open, they did not wait. They ran. Thank you, Daniela whispered as they rushed past. The cleaner stood frozen, heart racing, unsure what she had just done, but she knew it was right. That same day, one of the guards had left for a family emergency. The other had fallen into a deep sleep, unaware of everything. The girls ran for a long time, breath burning, legs shaking, until they reached the road. They saw a woman stepping out of a car. "Please. Help us," Valerie begged. The woman hesitated. She didn't know them, but their faces. Their fear. Their condition. She nodded. "My name is Amanda," she said quietly, and she helped them get on a flight home. But the journey back carried more pain. Lisa became weak on their way home and gave up. Daniela and Valerie returned home pale and broken. They told their story, crying, warning others. Soon, the police got involved. Investigations began. The rich Dubai men got arrested for trafficking. News spread fast, but the suffering had already taken too much. Daniela and Valerie couldn't make it. They gave up while in the hospital. Some lessons arrived too late. Moral lesson: not every open door is a blessing. Shortcuts to wealth can hide deadly traps. Hard work may be slow, but it keeps you safe. When desperation speaks, wisdom must ask questions. Never trade your life for fast money. No promise is worth your safety. If this story touched you, please like, share, and drop your thoughts in the comments. I truly want to hear from you. Subscribe to Shishi Fairy Tales for more stories like this, because we have many more coming just for you. Thank you for watching, thank you for your support, and most of all, I love you. See you in the next story.